So this entire week, we've dove into recruiting, and I guess the question is, why stop now? Especially when the Oklahoma Sooners are hosting such a loaded weekend, a weekend filled with prospects that, dare I say, some are must land. Today, we need to break into the Oklahoma Sooners visitor list from this weekend, talk about some exceptionally talented prospects that I know Sooner fans want to hear all about. But before we can, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Do you believe the Sooners can pick up some big-time recruits this weekend? And let me know what you're thinking. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions seem small. They are massive to content creators such as myself, and both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm, and we're on a push to 20,000 subscribers. I'd love to have you a part of this unbelievable community. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And what a weekend the Oklahoma Sooners are putting together, especially before Champ U Barbecue. You really can't argue with the prospects that will be in town. There are several names that are going to excite the Oklahoma Sooner fan base, and we need to jump right into it. So we're going to start on the defensive side of the ball. As many of you have watched the channel know, I love the defensive side of the football. If I'm going to talk about one side first, a lot of the times it's going to be the defensive side. And for the Oklahoma Sooners, that just so happens to be the area that there is so much intrigue around. Oklahoma's offense last year was not the problem. Sure, there were some consistency things that need to be fixed going into 2023, that much I grant you, but the Sooners' offense was able to put up points. They were a top 35 offense nationally. The defense is where the work needs to be done, and we've seen Brent Venables and this staff put in so much positive work, both in terms of recruiting and in the transfer portal, to try and mitigate some of the losses they've sustained since Brent Venables got there on the defensive side of the ball. So let's dive into some future prospects that Oklahoma may be able to land. And we're going to start with the name that is on the forefront of everyone's mind, a position that Oklahoma must find success at this recruiting cycle, and a name many Sooner fans want to see dress up in crimson when it's all said and done. Of course, we're talking about the five-star defensive lineman, top 5 prospect in the nation, Williams Nwaneri. And this guy right here is phenomenally gifted. One of the things I talk about consistently when it comes to Williams Nwaneri is the versatility he brings to the table. This is a dude that can legitimately fill so many needs up front, and that's why I think he's such an incredibly interesting prospect. This is a dude that, depending on the scheme, he can play multiple different positions. If you want to shade him a little bit more outside, if you want to shade him a little bit more inside, he's got the ability to do it all. He has prototypical size to either maintain where he's at 6'6", 260 per the 24/7 Sports Composite, or stack on a little bit of weight. And I don't think stacking on weight will lessen any of his explosiveness. And if you turn on the film, there's plenty of explosion to be found there. He comes in as a top 5 prospect in the nation, the number 3 prospect regardless of position in the nation, the number 1 defensive lineman, and the number 1 player in the state of Missouri. And we've talked consistently about the need for Oklahoma to address the defensive line, especially in the 2024 recruiting class. And there's probably no better way to do it than a Williams Nwaneri. David Stone is still on the table. Nigel Smith's still out there. Joseph Jonah Ajonye may have gotten a crystal ball to the Georgia Bulldogs, but Oklahoma is going to have a lot to say about that before it's all said and done. But still, Williams Nwaneri would absolutely be the cherry on top of this recruiting class and would be a tremendous win. There is no doubt about that. Now, before we move on, it's important to note that Williams Nwaneri is coming off a visit to the Georgia Bulldogs, which makes this Oklahoma visit all the more important. We know what Georgia has done both on the recruiting trail and in terms of results, both on the field and in the draft. It's impossible to argue with the results that Kirby Smart has put forth. Whether they're winning national titles or sending troves of their guys to the first round of the NFL draft, recruits have taken notice, and for good reason. So this is a fantastic time for the Oklahoma Sooners, getting Nwaneri right after the visit to Georgia. You want to get him in your building, show him the love, and hopefully this can turn out well for the Sooners. This is going to be something we have to watch. Sticking on the defensive side of the football and sticking to the 5-star ranking, we have 5-star defensive back Kobe Black out the state of Texas, and this is a battle I'm going to be watching closely. Teams such as the Texas Longhorns, the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Alabama Crimson Tide all pushing very hard for the talented five-star cornerback. And Kobe Black stands 6 foot, 185 pounds, so he has that typical cornerback size, the ability to continue adding on weight while, once again, not diminishing his athletic ability. And I think that's always a compelling factor. When you have these guys in high school that, like Kobe Black, stand 6 foot, 185 pounds, you watch them and you're thinking, man, you get into a college strength and conditioning room, you're really going to boom. I'm excited to see what his future holds. He's the number 23 prospect in the nation, the number 3 cornerback, and a top 5 player in the state of Texas, a state always loaded with talent. And for Oklahoma, this would be a massive win. Oklahoma defensive back coach Jay Valai has coached in the state of Texas. He has deep relationships within the state of Texas, and Sooner fans everywhere hope this is a battle they can pull out. The secondary is an area that a lot of Oklahoma fans are excited about. They felt like they had pieces within the secondary last year that actually played well. They just felt like if your defensive front isn't getting home to the quarterback and wide receivers have 5, 6, 7 seconds to run free, of course, inevitably, the quarterback will find somebody. But they felt like the defensive back room, if given help up front, would be a strong unit. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for it this year and going forward. But there is no question what a win Kobe Black would be. We talk about this all the time. One of the ways to maintain something that you like, especially in college football, make sure you can stack adequate depth in that area. And that's exactly what the SEC is all about, stacking depth. And if Oklahoma could get this win, they'd not only get a 5-star cornerback for themselves, they'd keep a 5-star cornerback away from Texas, and they'd keep a 5-star cornerback away from the Alabama Crimson Tide. 2 teams they will be seeing frequently in the near future. They're always going to see Texas, but they're about to hit that SEC slate. So Kobe Black is a name we have got to watch. We can now continue on the defensive back side with Marcellus Williams, the 4-star defensive back that stands 6'1", 165 pounds per 24/7 Sports out the state of California, where he plays for St. John Bosco. And I talk about this all the time as it relates to IMG, as it relates to modern day. There are certain high school programs that when you see a player come from that program, you know they're battle tested. They've played against some of the best high school talent on a week in, week out basis. They practice against some of the best high school talent every single day, and it's probably more likely that that's going to be a guy to make a successful transition from high school to college. St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, IMG, there are these certain schools out there that just have a history of producing elite recruits. Marcellus Williams is one of them. He's a top 100 prospect in the nation, regardless of position, coming in at number 70. He's the number 9 cornerback in the nation, and he's a top 10 player in the state of California. So this right here, Oklahoma getting in several big-time defensive backs. If you can get a 4-star blue chip guy that's a top 100 prospect in the nation, you don't argue with it. And one of the things we talked about the other day, I like recruiting battles with storylines, and we're about to get into more recruiting battles with storylines, but you want a storyline, how about getting a 4-star defensive back right out of Lincoln Riley's backyard, a guy that could absolutely help either school. So this is going to be something we have got to watch. And finally, the last player on defense is another defensive back, 4-star blue chip prospect Caleb Beasley out the state of Tennessee. Now, Caleb Beasley stands just under 6 foot, 168 pounds per 24/7 Sports, and is a top 200 prospect in the nation, specifically coming in at number 150, the number 14 cornerback, and the number 1 player in the state of Tennessee. And this is a guy that I think has got really high upside. He's a guy that when you turn on the film, he's able to do a lot. Really wiry, really athletic, and once again is able to add in more adequate depth into that defensive back room. And we know the way offenses are going in college football, you can never have too much depth in that DB room, especially when there are packages that will see you have 5, even 6 defensive backs on the field. So very excited to see how this battle ends out. But finally, we need to transition to the offensive side of the ball. And just a second ago, I referenced how I love when there are storylines and recruiting battles. Well, how about 4-star running back Taylor Tatum, a guy we just talked about who really enjoyed, per all reports, his visit to the USC Trojans. Now, Taylor Tatum comes in as a 4-star prospect, but will inevitably hit that 5-star ranking as the 24/7 Sports composite puts him as the number 31 prospect in the nation, the number 1 running back in the nation, and the number 6 player in the state of Texas. He stands 5'10", 200 pounds. And running back is a position where Oklahoma Sooner fans are interested in, but they feel really good about the depth they've been able to accrue at that position, and I completely understand. The one thing I will say, you never argue with adding in more depth. That being said, OU is after a few different running backs, Taylor Tatum being one of them, and this would be a phenomenal win. Anytime you can get the top running back in the nation, you feel real good, and especially when that running back is from the state right next to you, a state where not only do you frequent in recruiting, but a state where your bitter rival plays in. And Taylor Tatum truly is a do-it-all type running back, which makes him such an intriguing prospect. He's got the ability to run between the tackles. He's got the ability to take it to the outside. He can get separation from defenders with his speed. He has some moves. He's got some physicality. Really a do-it-all type running back, which is why so many colleges are after him, because he's a dude you can put into multiple different systems and he can find success. One area, though, we don't talk enough about, or we probably do here on this channel because I rant about it all the time. If you want to find success and maintain success in college football, the offensive line and defensive line recruiting is a must. And this is an area where Oklahoma has had such long sustained success, which is along their offensive line, thanks to Bill Bedenbaugh, an offensive line coach who I consider one of the best in the nation. But if you start listening to national conversations, for whatever reason, his name is frequently left out of the conversation, and I don't quite understand how. But we need to talk about four-star offensive lineman Jason Zandamela. Jason Zandamela stands 6'3", 286 pounds, the number 129 prospect in the nation, the number 7 interior offensive lineman, and the number 19 player in the state of Florida. He stands 6'3", 286 pounds. And getting guys like Jason Zandamela at the interior is a big win. He's got the athleticism to be able to pull. He's got good feet, and I think when we're talking about the guard position, especially in modern offenses, if you have an athletic guard, it unlocks a lot within your offense, and it allows you so much more flexibility. So this is a name we absolutely have to keep an eye on. But so too is four-star offensive tackle Grant Brix. The 6'6", 270 prospect comes just outside the nation's top 100, specifically coming in at number 110 in the nation, and is a top 10 offensive tackle. Same argument applies. This guy has prototypical size at the offensive tackle position, and one thing we understand is if Bill Bedenbaugh likes you, he's going to try and find a way to get you in that room. And we've seen time and time again, Bill Bedenbaugh will get in guys that may be 4 stars, 3 stars, work with them, and then send them to the NFL draft where they have long sustained careers. When we look in the NFL, some of the top paid offensive linemen hail from the Oklahoma Sooners. So Grant Brix is a prospect we have to keep an eye on. This would be a massive win. Finally, the last guy we need to talk about, sticking on the offensive line, 4-star offensive tackle out the state of Texas, Weston Davis, a guy who comes in as a top 200 prospect in the nation, a top 15 offensive lineman, and one of the top prospects in the state of Texas, all while standing 6'5", 265 pounds. Being able to get these big physical offensive linemen, it is a must, especially for the offense Oklahoma wants to run. Look, we talk a lot about Jeff Lebby in the passing game, but we also need to remember Jeff Lebby in the running game, what he has consistently done both while at Oklahoma and the previous years while at Ole Miss, where consistent running back production was seen. You want to know how to maintain that? Strong offensive line recruiting, and I have no doubt that once the offensive linemen get to Oklahoma, Bill Bedenbaugh will take care of the rest. Very interested to see how the recruiting goes. But there are several names this weekend for the Oklahoma Sooners that Sooner fans would love nothing more if they were able to get in big-time wins, especially for a prospect that maybe must land in 5-star defensive lineman Williams and Winari. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. That's it. See ya.